Welcome to Kitchen Table Scriptures, my faithful friends. March the 1st, and this is a big Sunday for me, and I can't thank you enough for joining me here today. 28 years ago today, my mom passed away. Whew, still devastating for me. She died young. She was at 54. She had a rapid case of early onset Alzheimer's. It's the same disorder my sister has. Um, But luckily, Sherry's trajectory is way different. But I'd appreciate it if you keep Sherry in your prayers. You guys, I'm going to show you. There's Sherry. You can see that, me, and we're actually at my mom's cemetery right there. And then here is a picture of my mom right there. So today's scripture, there are no mistakes, and it's fitting that this to me was ordained for today. During the final year of my mom's life, she was in a small nursing home. There were probably 20 beds. Sherry and I were there often, Sherry especially. And I'll tell you, the people who work there have angelic qualities to them and how they cared for these fragile lives. But one particular night, I remember I was overwhelmed by it all and the same cold cement staircases and pushing this heavy door open. The first thing that would greet me as I was leaving was this humongous oak tree. I've always had an affinity for trees, so I was very particular about this tree's presence. And I know, I suppose now it really helped me with the transition of being in the reality of that home, my mom, and then coming out right to the reality of my life outside all of that. But one particular night, I couldn't handle it. I walked out. I'm going to cry even thinking about it. I yelled at it. I yelled so loudly. I didn't care who heard me. I was so angry. I didn't understand. I didn't want the pain. I didn't want to see my mom go through the pain that she was in. I believed in God, but I didn't have this same relationship like I do now. You guys, I remember the night was dark, and the tree did nothing, as you would imagine. It didn't react. It didn't answer. It didn't grieve, but it just stood. It was grounded. It was stoic. I felt like it was in charge. And maybe the tree just held me for a moment. That's where the scripture comes in, you guys. Prophet Isaiah lived about 700 years before Jesus came. And a prophet, meaning that he has communication with God, and a prophecy of Jesus before he came 700 years later. Listen to this. Isaiah 55, verses 8 and 9. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. These are simple words and they're so powerful. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. And Isaiah spoke these words during a time when God's people were in exile. They were oppressed and displaced and without hope. And yet God was reminding them, as he reminds us now, that his ways operate way different beyond our understanding. And that scripture released and releases pressure to try to understand. I don't know about you guys, but when you're in grief or in situations, you replay everything. And with my mom, I did. Like, what could I have done differently? What could I have said? What didn't I say? And this verse humbles that instinct, right? Because it reminds us that we are not the ones in control. We never were. Our job is not to orchestrate life and death. Our role is to love and to remain present and to care. And, we did Sherry, we sang to mom. We fed her, brushed her hair. I remember her nails, and she just loved playing ball with my nephew Connor. She loved the birds. There was extraordinary tenderness. We didn't stop the disease. That all belonged to God. But in staying and remaining present, we learned a lot about love, unconditional love. It was 4 years really, and we found joy in the smallest things. I did. It rekindled, seeing sunlight, sharing a bite of ice cream. I would come home to California and I couldn't wait to sit with a friend, have a conversation, a cup of coffee, the little things. My ways are not your ways. And my mom's passing eventually led me to yoga. That's how I started Bikram yoga. And what I have my life today, don't get me wrong, I'd give it all up in a second if I could see her. But yet I know she was received by God. And listen to this, you guys. What happens is that love, flowed through my mom, and he continues to flow and through me and everyone else who she touched. So there's another scripture, Psalm 34 from King David. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34, verse 18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. And I feel that even now, as I walk alongside, this journey I have with my sister. So the yoke, it didn't remove the pain. It gave me presence. It gave me peace. And, I share this with you because that's what God does. In my example today, the scripture you use beyond, it's not only for loss, it's all situations, really every moment, to remind yourself that God's ways are not your ways. So the best thing to do is keep your eyes on God's promise, what he has for you and for us, and the story he's writing. It takes you out of kind of some of the personal attachment we have. And if you don't know what God's promise is yet, I encourage you to just start to sit and be still and allow God's Spirit to come to you. And it will in his right time, not your time, in his time. And you'll start to recognize God's promptings, and you'll start to trust his process, his ways, his promise for you. It's always less of me and more of him. Less of you, more of him. His role is human flourishing. I can't change my mom's dying. I still cry often. I miss her. How nice I get to celebrate her life with you today. People have asked me why I'm not angry at God. I tell you, it's always been the exact opposite. I've encountered God more deeply because of loss. I've needed him. And in so doing, right, he has shaped, continues to shape my heart. And he'll shape yours. He'll meet you right where you're at. So what a powerful one today, you guys. I'm going to end with saying it. For my thoughts are not your thoughts. Neither are your ways my ways. Father in heaven, even as I have this subject, I feel so tender in my heart how much I miss my mom. But I thank you so much. Look what's happened. Get to sit here with these people and share in this. And I know that you're beside me, comforting everybody that in situations that are really hard to understand. I know my mom is with you. And I just trust you more and more. Your thoughts are not mine. Your ways are not mine. In your precious name. See you next month.